Some rocket science from Laylo. I don't know. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
We're gonna get Laylo in here.
That's good. That's great. I'm
isn't
glad
it?
you know so much about music, Hugh, because, well, because I haven't kept up to date, so you know enough for dozens of people.
Really? Well, thank you.
That's great.
Well,
And I love music. It's not, just haven't been able to keep up with it as much.
well, sometimes some people are good at some things. Some people are good at other things. You're good at certain things, like art. And Robin Armstrong's here, and he's really good at astrology. Right, Robin?
Hi, I do okay.
Great to have you here.
Thank you.
So it's great to have you back. And I understand that there's this big state-of-the-art astrology conference coming to Toronto. When is it exactly?
It's this weekend. It's October 22nd to 26th. It's at the Crown Plaza Hotel. It's up near the airport. It's on, what's the name of the road? It's on 33 Carlson Court, just off Dixon Road.
Yeah, just off. You see it from the road.
From the road. Yeah.
And of course, there's the big all-you-can-eat restaurants right there too. So,
Good.
you,
Yeah. So it's a big event. There's about 20 or 25 astrologers. Some from the States, a couple from Europe, across Canada.
Is
No.
that an annual event?
Yeah,
Robin?
it is. It's an annual event.
annual in Toronto or annual?
Yeah,
somewhere
annual in
the
Toronto.
world?
Yeah.
Okay. And now, who should be thinking about going to this conference?
See, astrology is more than what's in the newspaper.
Yeah.
There's a whole language like music. You study it, you learn about it. It gets more and more interesting. So anyone who's curious, interested, or even professionals who know things, you run across other astrologers, other more information. It's its own special thing because you get so much information that you get high off the stuff.
How
Yeah.
would you describe astrology, Robin?
Well, astrology, if you think of it, the moment you're born, where the solar system is and the universe is the symbol of who you are. You're as unique as a universe at that moment, and it won't be duplicated. So simply thinking, the moment you're born, where the planets are in the solar system, they're like an alarm clock. Like 10 alarms get pulled, boom, time gets stopped.
Mm-hmm.
You take on that alarm clock, that's your horoscope.
Yeah.
But the world doesn't stop because you got on. The planets keep moving like hands of a clock.
Mm-hmm.
And as each planet moves, whenever it touches one of the alarms, alarming things happen in our life. So an
Yes, they do.
astrologer studies the clock and the timing and gets the sense of when things are happening. And that's when you start applying it to your life, you get the super calendar for directing your life.
Yeah. Okay. So and not just for people, but also for entities
For
like
business, for
corporations.
corporations, I've had horses as clients. I've had about 12 horses as clients who plan their racing careers.
How do they pay you?
The owners paid me. But you're planning a marriage, so you get two families together and you don't have a war. That's a useful thing.
Now, say it's too late. The marriage has already happened, and they're coming they want some advice. Can you?
Oh
kind
yeah,
of look at-
how to deal with what you got. Yeah, if
Yeah.
you have a child
Mm-hmm.
and you don't like the horoscope, you don't throw out the baby.
Right.
You learn about the horoscope and say, how am I going to work with it?
Now, shouldn't you be planning for if it's hard to plan though?
I think that
Well,
would be hard to do.
Usually you run
Plan
into the great
exact
god.
moment of birth.
Usually you run into the great god. Oops first.
The great
God. Oops.
oops. Yeah.
or sometimes it's planned. But you can more or less get the time of the month. Okay, I'll get around this month, or I'll try and get an Aries or a Taurus or something.
But sometimes you can't even do that.
To get to the time of day and to get where your moon sign is.
Yeah.
The moon sign, you have to look up your chart to see it, but most people live in their moon sign and their feelings and their moods and their family, and that's your moon sign, what you're like when you live with somebody.
Yeah.
That's your moon sign,
your
and you
moon
have to find that's unique to every 2 days.
Oh.
What does it mean if you're born under the new moon, just a little bit before the actual new moon?
Well, a new moon, it's the end of a cycle and the beginning of a cycle. So it's supposed to be very psychic, very impressionable, very subjective, very internal. The past and the future of the moon and the sun come together. So you tend to be in the moment more than other people. Whereas in the full moon, they're opposed to each other, and you feel this contradiction. There's two things opposing, and you say, "Oh, geez, I've been here before. I see this. I recognize this struggle," and you get pulled out of yourself.
Are you a new moon baby?
How-
What's your moon sign?
Aries.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're double impulse, double trouble.
Why? What's the first
Oh,
trouble?
I wasn't expecting to hear that.
But the new moon is
Well,
trouble and the
no,
Aries is trouble.
Aries
wait
are
a
the
minute.
impulsive, aggressive sign. It's like
Yeah.
if you're going to go on impulse, don't get in my way. Let's just get it done and do it. So the good thing is when they're 90, people think they're 60. So they always have this youthfulness, but don't get in their way.
Okay.
Did you hear that, Hugh?
I heard. Yes, I did.
This is a good year for Aries. And the next few years are the most exciting years
For who?
for Aries.
Why?
They're just moving up in the world and exciting things are going to start happening.
Are you an Aries too?
Nope.
No?
No, I'm a Libra.
Libra.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
not an Aries. That's just my moon sign.
You're the Pisces? You're right on the edge? Or
No,
Taurus?
I have Piscean energy, but I'm on the Aries Taurus cusp.
Oh, okay.
I'm a Taurian, but on
Okay,
the
with
Aries cusp.
with your Aries moon? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, how are things looking for Virgos these days, Robin?
Well-
What are you, Hugh?
Yeah. Well, Virgos have this last year or so has been a year of I have to make commitments, I have to make decisions where we're going, and yet the timing has been off. So people have been stupid around you and hasn't made things happen quite the way you wanted, but you know what you have to do. Now the obstacles and the disruptions are falling away, and your course of action starts coming out a little bit better.
Yeah. Okay. How about go ahead.
I was just going to ask, astrology, we're talking about astrology when people know their time of birth.
Well, there's all the more you know, the more accurate you can get, the more accurate you know your time, the more accurate you can be. So when you get to the time of day, you really see personal, specific things in a person's chart, how to deal with money, relationships, different things. Otherwise, you get the day, you get the sun and the moon, you don't get the houses. So you get a lot of information, but not all of it.
If you don't know the time of your birth, what would you do in that case? Would it be better to read the general astrology or go to something like numerology, which isn't dependent
No, it's a
on
different
the
thing.
time of day?
Numerology is a different thing. Astrology, if you use the information you have. If you don't know your time, you use the day and the year. You can still get the chart done. You do it for noon, and you still get as close as you can.
Plus, you can probably, Robin, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you get a sense of the person, you can
can
say,
rectify
you know
it.
what, we don't know exactly, but you're a Sagittarius ascendant.
Yeah. You back into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes you get a hunch on it. Sometimes you have to work on it. But that's fairly complicated. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's complicated because you have to. Once you get into it, you're trying to find the time someone's born at. You need to link it with a history, and see where things happen from that. But when you meet someone, like you meet someone across the road, you could wave your hand, say hi, how's it going? What's happening? If you meet someone on the same side of the street, you can shake hands, give them a hug. You're a little closer.
Yeah.
If you meet someone in a bedroom, you're even more intimate. So different degrees of time allow for different degrees of information exchange, of intimacy, and of understanding. But where astrology is really useful, if you get the kid from hell, and you're trying to figure out how do I deal with this kid. You may not solve their problem, but you can start to see how they're processing to figure out how they're figuring things out.
So you can get some insight from that might help you deal with that
Oh yeah,
situation.
there's a bail bondsman in California that's an astrologer. He's the most successful bail bond. He does a chart and knows when they can get busted,
Aha.
and goes after them on that day.
So astrology shows the lens through which we perceive things.
Well, it's a map of the universe, and it gives us, it gives you a picture of your character, of what you can be. It's hardly a restriction because we all have our hearts, we all have our minds, and we have styles of what we use it. But there's so many choices. It's hardly a restriction to be a sign. When we're talking about just like archetype.
Unless you're Virgo.
It's a tough job. Somebody has to be perfect. But
Thank you for acknowledging that.
you can when I first had my chart done, my reaction was, "You mean I'm supposed to be like this?" It was the first time I got affirmations. Yeah, you're supposed to be like that. A little hyper, a little sarcastic. In school, it was never accepted, and it became a friend to me right there. But trying to get timing, I've helped people get a time to swim the English Channel and succeed after failing a couple of times. Different things like this where it's so useful. Like most time planning you get is just organize the stuff in your book. They don't tell you what days you're actually up or down on to work around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
No,
So is this something that people can do? For instance, if they know they have a year in which a lot of important decisions will be made, could they come to an astrologer for some kind of a forecast?
Oh, for sure. It's like astrology. Living with astrology is almost like washing dishes. You can be on top of it. You're always doing it. You're washing them as soon as you do them. As soon as you're cooking, you're right on top of everything. Nobody does that. Or you can be a little bit behind, you get a bit behind, you get a bit ahead, you catch up on it, and you go on it. Or if you get so far behind, you want to throw out the pots instead of cleaning them. You know you're out of touch with if you get that out of touch with your life and how you're meeting people, you got so much baggage nobody can come and deal with. So trying to get your life together, get control of your life, get it planning, get it working, so that you have things working, you're putting things out and people are responding to them, and you're working on it. That's very useful.